Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel of terror and horror. Today, we bring you a series of the creepiest and scariest stories that will send shivers down your spine. If you're a brave fan of horror content, get ready for a dark journey into the unknown, as we'll confront you with fears from your worst nightmares today. But before we embark on this chilling adventure, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to make sure you won't miss a single story. Warning, this video is so terrifying that it might keep you awake at night, so watch it at your own risk. Are you ready? Finally, when you've either gotten the information you wanted or given up on it completely, you may end the ritual by simply thanking the devil for accepting your request, bowing politely at the waist, and bidding him farewell. The mirror's surface will seem to swim and flicker for a moment, and then you will be looking at your reflection again. Only when you are sure that you're looking into your own two eyes again may you turn away from the mirror, flick the lights back on, and begin dismantling your protections. Now, and this is important, even if you haven't gotten the information you wanted, you must end the ritual before 66 minutes have elapsed. Well, technically, you have 66 minutes and 6 seconds, subtle, right? Still, if you're seriously going to try to cut it that close without any timekeeping device, you're probably screwed anyway. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to keep to this time limit. I'll save the reason behind that for the end, but don't skip ahead. I've still got a few essential tips on how to play. 1. Be very careful what sort of personal information you give out. Try not to talk about yourself, especially your emotions and problems, any more than necessary. This guy knows human psychology like the back of his hand and will get inside your head. It's like talking to Hannibal Lecter. Give him enough to work with, and even if you don't believe a single word he says, he will still find ways to fuck with your mind like nobody's business. If anything he asks makes you even remotely uncomfortable, do not hesitate to lie through your teeth. There will be plenty of other questions. 2. Similarly, keep the game on track and move briskly. Unstructured interactions of any kind are to be avoided. Chances are that at some point, he will try to draw you off on a tangent, discussing something that fascinates you, analyzing a response you've given him, or finding some other excuse to speak at length without moving the game forward. This is a waste of valuable time and another excellent opportunity to mess with your mind. 3. If you give him a riddle, use one you've made yourself. If your riddle has ever been written down anywhere, from the pages of The Hobbit to some long-lost tome of ancient magic, he will know the answer. That said, it still has to be a legitimate riddle, with an answer that makes logical sense from some angle. You can't just ask something like what's green, has 10 legs, and hops, then claim for some inexplicable reason that the answer was marshmallows. Nor can you ask him a straight question like what have I got in my pocket? He probably knows that, anyway. There are no hard and fast rules to determine whether a riddle makes sense, but you're a reasonable human being. Your ancestors ate from the tree of knowledge. Please, for the love of crap, use common sense. 4. If you choose to take a dare, there is a slight chance that the devil will ask you to do something seemingly easy. Deliver a letter, for instance, or scribble a 10-digit number in a public restroom stall. If he does ask you for something like this, and you have even a shred of common decency in you, do not accept. Chances are that he's using you to further some sinister plot, one liable to ruin many lives and harm many people. Who knows? Maybe you're the type of person who doesn't mind throwing an unknown number of total strangers under a bus to find out what you want to know, but at least be aware that is what you're doing. 5. Last but not least, be very aware of the time. I suggest practicing beforehand and getting a feel for how long an hour is without a watch. The devil will probably put off discussing the things you're most keen to find out for as long as he can, and as you near the 66-minute deadline, he'll start trying harder and harder to distract you, captivate you, and otherwise keep you playing until it's too late. He'll string you along, feed you little glimmers of false hope, and keep you thinking, just a few more minutes. I'm almost there. Please don't fall for it. Don't go over the time limit. No matter what. Now, you might think that this game doesn't sound all that dangerous so far. Threats of psychological damage rarely seem to carry the same weight as threats of physical damage, even though their costs are often just as high. I hate to burst your bubble, but the game is far from safe. There are plenty of ways for you to seriously screw yourself over both physically and mentally, not to mention spiritually. And it is with these that I will conclude, in the vain hope that they may make some impression. First, while speaking with the devil, do not let him out of your sight. Keep staring into the mirror no matter what happens. He will undoubtedly try various tricks to make you look away. You will hear noises behind you, feel eyes on your neck, see shadowy phantoms writhing in the mirror's depths. A cold breath will blow upon you from behind, smelling like a crypt. A deep silence will settle, only to be interrupted by a loud smack directly behind your head, giving you about the worst jump scare you've ever had. Hell, the devil may even abandon a measure of his dignified facade and provide a sudden jump of feigned shock, shouting and pointing behind you with a compelling look of terror on his face. It would help if you did not look away from whatever he might test you with. If you look away and lose sight of him completely, even for 1 second, you will look back in the mirror to find him gone. Well, they are not gone. Out of the mirror. In the room. With you. Exactly how much of your body the police will find the following day and what state it's in will depend entirely on the sort of mood he's in. The same goes if you break any of the protections you laid down before beginning the ritual. Interrupting the circle of salt, letting the red string unwind, knocking over a candle or letting one go out, any of these things will free him from the mirror, and then, well, you're all a bunch of creative horror junkies. I'm sure you can fill in the blanks. On a different topic, you may reach a point in the game, probably after a long series of maddeningly impossible questions, where the devil asks you the deceptively simple question, "What is your full name?" It would help if you did not give it to him. Names can be things of great power. Although the devil will, of course, already know your name, telling it to him yourself is akin to inviting a vampire into your home. Your name is deeply synonymous with your inner self, thus, giving him your name is powerfully symbolic of giving him yourself. If you are foolish enough to make this mistake, all of your protections will be for naught, and he will seize upon your unwitting offer with malicious glee, stealing away your soul and dragging it back with him into hell. At least this way, the police will find a complete, identifiable body. Your vacant shell will be unblemished, seemingly having dropped dead of sheer terror. Last but certainly not least, there's the matter of what happens if you go over the time limit. This is arguably the worst thing you can do. You won't think so at first. The devil will give you no indication that you have exceeded the time limit, and you will conclude the ritual as if nothing had gone wrong. Perhaps, as the devil's image in the mirror trembles and gives way, you'll see a particularly nasty, triumphant smirk flash across his face, but this will be easily dismissed as your imagination. You'll turn the lights back on, gather your belongings, and go to leave the room. But, when you open the door, you will see nothing. That's right, nothing, just a flat, white void extending infinitely in all directions. Only the room which was reflected in the mirror will now exist. Incidentally, if you turn back to face the mirror again, you may catch a last glimpse of your reflection. Perhaps it will even turn and favor you with a smirk and a cheeky wave before sweeping out the door into the perfectly normal church hallway outside. You may have already figured out that you are no longer in the church. Your soul is now trapped in the mirror, and the devil has taken the liberty of possessing your body now that you are no longer using it. Pound on the glass and scream all you like, you'll never get out on your own, and no exorcist can help you. But don't worry, it's not like you're in hell, right? At least, not necessarily. You have to understand and see that a human soul stripped bare of its flesh is intensely volatile and vulnerable, especially when trapped in the land of the living. You are now an entity of purely mental properties. As such, the barriers between what is natural to you and what is imaginary have been completely dissolved. As you fill that reflected room with your anger, sorrow, and fear of being trapped, these emotions will merge, given form by your mind. If you're not particularly imaginative, these creatures may not be too terrible and unable to inflict too much horror and pain. With time, you may even be able to teach yourself to get rid of them. If, however, yours is a mind haunted by monsters, a mind that is vibrantly creative and imaginative and more than usually twisted, well, there's no telling what horrors might come clawing their way out of the vortex, tasting sweet release from the confines of your subconscious, hungering for your terror and suffering. They will refuse to be banished, dragging you, kicking and screaming, into an endless positive feedback loop of pain and fear. Needless to say, if you're a regular patron of websites like this one, you're probably pretty well fucked. There's only one way to release you from the mirror and the world you've created therein. They say that if you call to the devil once more and ask him to free you from the mirror, he'll be willing to take you out. For the usual fee, of course. Who knows? Maybe if your imagination is twisted and powerful enough to create a personal hell that leaves you begging for the real thing, those talents might be put to good use. There are over 7 billion people in the world. Even the devil himself can't be messing with all of their minds at once. Talented help is always appreciated. Of course, the result of your being trapped inside the mirror is that the devil now gets to do whatever he wants in your body until sunrise. At around that time, your body will mercifully drop dead from the strain of the possession. An autopsy will probably identify the cause as some coronary event. Please don't get too relieved. He can stir up plenty of trouble in those few hours. For instance, he may decide to do something big and dramatic, like purchase a large meat cleaver and go on a murder spree, starting with the names in your address book and working his way out to strangers if he has time. Or perhaps he'll focus on only one person, someone who trusts you completely, using your persona to get them alone and vulnerable, and then, well, no need to describe it here. Once again, I'm sure you can think of a few things. I was starting to see why I called this the worst outcome yet. Of course, there's also a chance you won't lay a finger on any of your loved ones, instead deciding to do something more subtle, more insidious. Drop off a few nondescript, unmarked packages on certain doorsteps in the dangerous part of town. Or locate a particular dusty, age-yellowed text in the storeroom of your local library and intentionally misfile it in the young adult literature section. Or whisper 7 very choice words into the ear of the distracted-looking young redhead waiting for the 3 a.m. subway train. Or maybe he'll decide that, in this age of waning superstition, not enough people are interested in his games, and their knowledge of them is in danger of being lost. Maybe he'll decide he needs to get the word out a bit more, do a bit of networking, attract some new suckers, challengers. Maybe he'll quickly peek at your browser history and see where the impressionable, curious minds are hanging out these days. Perhaps he'll even write a quick tutorial in modern parlance rather than some mysterious, obsolete demonological text, post it on the internet and see how many bites he gets. Haha, maybe I really shouldn't have gone there. But if you've made it this far without saying, a little twist at the end isn't going to put you off, is it, dear reader? I'm sure there are plenty of brave adventurers among you with burning questions you'd like answered. And you're all a clever bunch. You know the pitfalls and conventions. You live and breathe this sort of thing, do you not? There's no way you'd fall into any obvious traps, right? You're not some Dick or Jane off the street. After all, you'd be bringing a whole new level of competition. You would. Excuse me, I think I hear someone calling for me. What? Do you want out that badly already? It must be one hell of an imagination you've got on you.